Howdy, partners. This here episode is about Deadwood.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Well, okay. Hey, y'all. It's a little bit different of a video. It is about Deadwood, South Dakota. But there was a particular skit that we took in the saloon, and it makes up the bulk of this video. And but it's pretty entertaining, if not just for the historical value. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it as much as we did taking the show in. We had a little bit of trouble with the videos. The cameras would shut off after 15 minutes and we had to restart. But hope you enjoy it. And if you ever get a chance to visit Deadwood, you won't be disappointed, do you think?
No, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was really a great time. Great time.
Enjoy.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Sandy.
And I'm Ed.
And this is General, our totally awesome water dog.
We used to live on the Outer Banks in North Carolina, but one day we found both of ourselves unemployed.
So we decided to take a chance. We sold everything, bought a trailer, and left to explore America. We're learning as we go along, but we still make mistakes.
But we get a lot of things right too. So come join us as we learn to RV full-time, explore America, and share in our exciting journey of discovery. Our next adventure is just over the hills.
One of our viewers commented that in the last video we didn't state how General had fared at the vet after he had his little stomach problem. As it turns out, the butternut squash actually did the trick. His poopies were perfectly normal the next day, and we were playing balloon again within a couple of days after that. So we did not end up taking him to the vet because he was fine, and he's not had that problem since then. Thanks so much, Kristen, for your concern. During our stay in the Custer area, I just knew I had to visit Deadwood. With our love of history, this is a place that we did not want to miss. Now, from Custer to Deadwood, it's actually a drive of about an hour one way, but it was so worth it in our eyes. The town of Custer has so many historical buildings, and the really amazing thing about this little town is it's built in a gulch. Now, the difference between a gulch and a valley usually has quite a bit of space in between the two mountains, but this gulch that Deadwood was built in, there's barely 2 blocks worth of room for their main street area to be built on the level, and then all the buildings behind that are built on the side of the hill. So it's a very thin area, just a gulch that this was built on. Now, the main street of Deadwood actually caught on fire back in like 1879. So you won't see any buildings older than that in the downtown area. But there are a lot of buildings that were built right after the fire when they were rebuilding the town. And these buildings are just amazing. Ed really wanted to visit the Saloon number 10 when we got there because that was the one that had all the history about Wild Bill Hickok shooting. So we did find it when we got downtown, and we were just kind of wandering around inside the bar, and we happened to go over to the shopkeeper who was selling the souvenirs because, you know, we wanted to get a magnet and a sticker and stuff like that. And he told us about the show that they have. They do this little show 3 or 4 times a day. We were kind of there off season. I think they do more during the summer when there's more people there. So we got some seats and some drinks and some fried cheese curds, of course, and sat down to watch the show, and it was pretty awesome.
Welcome to the old Style Saloon number 10. This is the only museum in the world with a bar in it. Yeah, I know. You know, that's why I hang out here. I love museums. Geez, tough crowd, huh? Well, anyway, I know why you're all here today. You're to watch me play some cards, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to do that for you. First, let me introduce the friends I'm playing with today. Charlie Rich, come on out. Charlie Rich, gambler from Cheyenne. There he is. Next up, we got retired riverboat captain, Captain William Massey. Get out of here, Captain. There he is. All right, Carl, it's all about you. Carl Mann, the owner of the Saloon 10. There he is. Oh, you don't want to sit there, Carl. I guarantee you that. And last but not least, everybody's favorite guy in the bar. Oh, thank you, though, the bartender, Harry Young. Get out of here, Harry. There he is. Hey, those of you that said Wild Bill, thank you. I do appreciate that. All right, like I said, I'm going to play some cards for you. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I am James Butler Hickok. Folks nowadays, well, they all like to call me Wild Bill. Now, I'm going to start after the Civil War. I did fight during that war. I was a scout and a spy for the Northern Army. But when the war ended, I was just like everybody else. I needed work. So I took off looking for work. I ended up in Springfield, Missouri. Now, Springfield, more just a stopping point for me. But I did find a card game right away, and if you don't know anything else about me, surely you know that I ain't passing me up a good game of poker. Now, in this game, I played with a fella by the name of Davis Tutt. Davis, he was a Southern boy, and of course I fought for the North during the war, so how we got along well enough to sit across the table from each other, I have no idea. Man, that guy really did not like me at all. But we managed to get along for a couple days anyway, and, well, I ended up owing him about $35. Now, $35 being quite a sum of money that I didn't have, and Davis really wanting some collateral, well, I didn't know what I was going to do. All I had was an old pocket watch that my daddy had given me, and I wasn't about to give that up. But Davis, he was relentless. He wanted something to ensure him that he was going to get his money back. So, reluctantly, I did end up giving him that pocket watch, but I told him, I said, now, Davis, don't be going around telling everybody how you took that from me in a card game, because that ain't how it happened. That watch means a whole lot more to me than $35, and I'm getting it back. Well, the very next day, here's Davis Tutt in the streets of Springfield swinging that watch around, taunting me with it. Oh, I yelled at him across the town square, told him to knock it off, but he didn't want to listen. He yells back at me, I yell back at him. Then what's he do? He pulls out a gun and he takes a shot at me. Landed right at my feet. Well, if you know anything about the West, you don't take a shot at somebody unless you expect one coming right back at you. And I don't miss. I lined up at Davis 75 yards across that town square in Springfield with my .36 caliber black powder pistol. Bam! One shot right through the heart. Well, the authorities there in Springfield were none too happy with me shooting a fella down their streets. And they arrested me. They told me that I was liable for the death of Davis Tutt. Well, I said, what about self-defense? He shot first. Yeah, all the witnesses on his side said he was just funning around. He wasn't really shooting at me. You know, I'm quite sure he doesn't think it's too fun anymore. Well, the judge saw it my way. Self-defense. I was acquitted there in Springfield, but I did figure it's about high time I got out of town. Now, as I'm leaving town, I run into another fellow who just happened to be at that gunfight, and he saw the whole thing. He was a writer by the name of Henry Nickel. Now, Mr. Nickel, he wrote for Harper's Monthly. He wrote a lot of them dime novels out on the East Coast. Said he wanted to do an interview with me. Said the people out there, they needed a hero of the new frontier, and, well, I guess he's going to make me it. Now, in this interview, I told him some stories about myself, and, yeah, maybe I exaggerated just a tad, but not nearly as much as he did. By the time he told that story, he had me killing over 200 people. Can you believe that? It was more like less than a half a dozen at this point. But it did make me famous. I went from being James Butler Hickok to being Wild Bill Hickok, the Prince of the Pistoliers, the greatest gunfighter the West had ever seen. And while the fame was nice, they kind of put a target on my back. Now, every guy that had a gun wanted to be the guy that shot down the greatest gunfighter, and, well, I had to be extra cautious from then on. Now, still needing to get out of Springfield, though acquitted, they were not happy about it, and, well, I still needed work, so I took off and I headed west. Oh, I traveled across Kansas doing odd jobs just to survive. I drove a little freight for a while, scouted for like the 7th Cavalry and the 10th Cavalry. And as I'm out there scouting for them boys, well, I noticed a lot of small towns were sprouting up out there. Yeah, it seemed like everybody just kind of headed west on this big land grab, you know? Well, it also seemed to me not a lot of them towns had any law in them to speak of. That gave me an idea maybe I should be a lawman. So that's what I did. Now, I cleaned up a lot of towns across Kansas, places like Fort Riley, Wichita, Hays City, oh, a couple more, till I ended up in Abilene, Kansas. Now, see, Abilene, it was a rough cattle town. One of the roughest there was. Them cattle drives, they'd come through there, bring all sorts of outlaws and ruffians with them. They'd shoot up the town, scare the daylights out of everybody. The people of Abilene, well, they were sure happy when they heard the great Wild Bill Hickok took the job as their marshal and was going to clean that place up. I got there, I laid down some new ground rules. Do not bring your guns to town. Certainly don't be shooting them off in city limits. But there was this guy. There's always this guy, right? Yeah, a fella by the name of Phil Coe. Phil, he was a Texas cattleman. He bought a bar there in Abilene, and I guess he had a little problem with my authority. See, I was a marshal. I laid down the rules and I enforced them. And Phil, he didn't want to follow the rules. He just wanted to argue with me about them all the time. Every day it seemed there was something new with that guy. Well, till early one evening, I'm sitting in the saloon, minding my own business, winding down from a long day's work, and I hear this ruckus in the street. People are screaming and hollering. Guns are going off everywhere. I run outside to investigate. And who is it? It's Phil Coe and all his friends shooting up the town, scaring everybody. Well, much like Davis, I yelled at him to knock it off too, but he didn't want to listen either. Pretty soon we got this big shouting match going on in the street, and, well, Phil reaches for his pistol. Big mistake. I'm quicker. I saw him reach for his, reached for mine, drew first, bam, I shot him. I'm not doing much else at the time and really needing some money. I said, why not? Let's take that Wild West show out there and show them Easterners just how wild it really is out here. Truth be told, I didn't care for that. No, some people are showmen and some aren't. Buffalo Bill? Heck yeah, there's a showman for you. Me? Oh, not so much. Did I tell you? It didn't take long. We got out the East Coast, started doing shows. The critics, they tore us apart. You know, they actually wrote in the newspaper that between myself, Buffalo Bill, and Texas Jack, that we could not act out a simple English sentence. Yeah, I know I should have shot him for that, right? No, I didn't need any more trouble out there. See, my friend Buffalo Bill, he didn't think it was right that I was drinking and carrying on during the shows, and, well, he took my liquor away. I'm here to tell you, it made me rather ornery. I shot the lights out of Madison Square Garden, shot a couple of extras with blanks, and started their pants on fire because I thought it was funny. Yeah, they didn't. I'd say by the end of it all, my good friend Buffalo Bill regretted every minute of taking me with on that tour. So I saved him the trouble of firing me and I quit. Oh, the West was calling me again anyhow. I had to get back out here. I ended up over there in Cheyenne, Wyoming territory. Now, when I got to Cheyenne, well, I found me a card game right away because that's just what I do. I played for a couple days and in walks a lady friend, Agnes Lake. Now, see, I'd known Agnes for years, and when we got back together, it's like we'd never left each other. I found out she's as fond of me as I was of her, so I asked her to marry me. You know what she said? Yeah, of course she said yes. I wouldn't tell the story if she said yes. She did say yes. We had a nice little wedding, and I whisked her away on a honeymoon to Cincinnati. You guys are laughing about Cincinnati. What's wrong with Cincinnati? It's the Queen City. Riverboats and everything. At least it wasn't Cleveland. No, I shouldn't say anything about Cleveland. People in Cleveland get mad at me for that. Anybody here from Cleveland? Oh. Apologize. Never been there. You're not really from Cleveland, are you? Oh, okay. We honeymooned in Cincinnati for a short spell, but Agnes, she had worked there. She's run the circus by this time, and well, I had to get back out here. So I left her there, and I headed back west. No, I figured to myself, Cheyenne seemed like a right fine town. Maybe that's where I'll go start working on a fortune so me and Agnes can retire. Turns out, Cheyenne did not treat me as good as I'd initially hoped. No, I went on this long streak of bad luck, you see. I lost all my money at the card tables. I ended up penniless in the streets of Cheyenne. You know what they did to me there? They arrested me. They told me I was a vagrant. They told me to get out of town and not come back. Imagine that. I go from being Wild Bill Hickok, the Prince of the Pistoliers, the greatest gunfighter the West had ever seen, to the biggest bummer of Cheyenne, and they wrote that in the newspaper. I know. Well, lucky for me, as I'm leaving Cheyenne, I run into another friend of mine, Colorado Charlie Utter. Now, Colorado Charlie and myself, well, we've been best friends ever since I was a marshal in Hays City, and it just so happens he was bringing a wagon train from his home there in Colorado, going right through Cheyenne. About the time I was getting kicked out, he pulls up, he says, "Bill, get on this wagon train with us." Huge gold strike in the Black Hills of Dakota territory. I tell you what, you come with us. I got a gold claim up there. You can work the claim. I'll drive freight back and forth, and we'll split the money 50-50. Well, being as how it was for me there in Cheyenne, that was not a hard decision to make. I hopped that wagon train with him. All sorts of fine folks on there, over 200 of them. 70-plus wagons, all filled with goods for this town right here. Now, we headed north out of Cheyenne. We spent about a week out on the prairie before we pull up at a place called Fort Laramie. Now, when we got to the fort, they were excited to see us because, well, some ladies had stopped by there and they're causing all sorts of trouble at that fort. The guys weren't getting their work done, they weren't getting any sleep at night. They were staying up all night drinking and fraternizing with these women. The colonel wanted us to get them out of there post-haste. Now, I'm sure you know at least a couple of them. Dirty M was there. No? How about Madam Mustache? Oh, this guy knows Madam Mustache. Look at the grin on his face. Well, I won't say anymore. I see you're here with friends. Mum's a word from now on, sir. Oh, little Tidbit was there, and, well, Calamity Jane. Now, I know y'all recognize that name because y'all been starting and spreading them rumors about myself and Calamity maybe being romantically involved. Not true. Come on now. Didn't I just tell y'all I was married? Man, them rumors get back to Agnes. I'm in all sorts of trouble. Now, I probably should talk about Calamity just for a second or two because I know y'all know her very well. Yeah, it is true. She did look like a man. She definitely smelled like one. She drank like one, dressed like one. Heck, she cursed like a whole boatload of sailors. But, for all her faults, she had a heart of gold. If you had a problem and Calamity Jane was anywhere around, she'd help you out, I guarantee it, just the kind of person she was. Now, we never got to be anything more than just friends, but we did have a great time from Fort Laramie to here. About another week out on the trail and before we pull up on the edge of town. We looked down over this gulch, and it is gold claims as far as the eye could see in every direction. Heck, we started laughing, said it looked like a couple of anthills. There were so many thousand people running up and down the sides of this gulch looking for that gold. Oh yeah, gold fever will do that to you. Tell you I had to touch it myself, but I just got excited. I knew I had a working gold claim out there. I went right out and I started working it. I worked it hard for about 3 hours. Yeah, I found out real fast that gold mining was not for me. But Deadwood, being what it is, all the people, the gold, the saloons, the gambling halls. Oh, it didn't take me long to find something else to do in this town. I'm downtown playing cards. This is like a pretty good game over here. Tell you what, well, I'm going to talk a little bit more. Tell you, I'm pretty sure these folks are all sick of listening to me talk by now. Yeah. I know that guy back there. I heard that voice. I recognize it from way back there. Hey, are you trying to tell me that came out of her? I don't think so, kid. Get out of here, you little dirt ball. I'll shoot you right now. Try to sneak away on me. I see you back there. Sir, move your head just a little bit. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. I'm going to head up front. I see a friend of mine up there. I got to talk to him for just a second, and I'll be right back here to play, okay? We'll see y'all in a few.
Connecticut, but nonetheless, they brought to the gold rush an air of reckless, dazzling excitement. By August 2nd, 1876, they were well established up and down Deadwood City's main street, working around the clock in one fashion or the other. Honky-tonk piano and their songs of promising spirit filled the air. Many an unlucky prospector could find hope for tomorrow, for he knew what the night would bring. As unpredictable as card games are, Bill found himself quickly losing to Massey, who had lost a bill the night before.
$15 from you, Harry.
Bill asked Harry for $15 worth of pocket checks.
Thank you very much.
Harry brought them over to Bill and returned to the bar and his duties. Soon, a shifty drifter known as Jack McCall entered the saloon. Bill quickly turned while drawing his gun. Recognizing McCall as a newcomer to town, he greeted him with the friendly,
"Howdy, Jack."
then reholstered his gun and resumed the
I can't
game.
believe he came back today
Jack slowly circled the table, pausing briefly behind each player and analyzing each hand.
Hey, get out of here, kid. Yeah, that kid was in here last night. You must have lost 250, 300 left out bad as the Hornets.
Wild Bill's attention was on Massey. There was a friendly argument between them, and Wild Bill remarked,
Massey, you might have all I'm gonna take all them anyway.
upon returning directly behind Wild Bill, suddenly Jack McCall, the bullet struck Bill in the back of the head, coming out of his left cheek and lodged in Captain Massey's left arm. It was discovered soon after the cards Bill was holding were aces and eights, forever known as the dead man's hand. All fled the saloon except Carl Mann, who was held at bay by McCall. Jack snapped the trigger of his gun several times. It failed to fire. He then ran out the door and up the street. He was found hiding in a building behind a butcher shop. Later on in the day, he was tried in a miner's court. The jury, being tainted and influenced by a deceitful defense, found McCall not guilty, and he was released. This decision not only outraged the judge, but also the general populace. McCall left the camp in haste. Upon reaching supposed safety in Wyoming, he began bragging of his ignoble deed. Word of this reached a U.S. Marshal who tracked McCall down, arrested him, and sent him to Yankton to be tried again in Dakota Territory. It was determined, since the first trial was held in Indian Territory, that it was not legal. McCall was found guilty and hung for his cowardly crime. He was buried in an unmarked grave on the edge of town. Later, as the town grew, the cemetery was moved. As the coffins were opened, one corpse was found with a rope around its neck. It was easily identified as Jack McCall, the assassin of Wild Bill. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking your time to watch.
They do have these history signs placed throughout town with a lot of great information on them about the history of the town of Deadwood. We were only able to find a few of them, but I think there's probably like a dozen of them scattered through town. And of course, we had to go to Mount Moriah Cemetery. This is just one of those things that you have to do when you're in the Deadwood area. So we saw the graves of Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane, of course. But we also knew that there was, some kind of Masonic area in this cemetery. So we wanted to take a look at that. And it's actually a celestial lodge. They laid it out as a celestial lodge. So there's a lot of Masons buried in this particular area of the cemetery, and it's a really neat place. If you're a Mason, you got to check this out. And we knew that we wanted to visit Seth Bullock's grave, but this is kind of a unique thing. His grave is actually up on a hill, and you have to climb almost 800 feet up this hill in order to see his grave, because he wanted to be buried on the top of the hill overlooking the city. But we did make the climb, and we saw his grave, and that was pretty awesome, because Seth was a Mason, and he did a lot of awesome things for the town of Deadwood. He actually is very well known to be still haunting the Bullock Hotel downtown, and he kind of jabs at the employees to keep them moving so they don't screw around too much. It's kind of funny. And in his way, he's still trying to help the town of Deadwood by being there to take care of his hotel and keep things going. It's really cool. As we were leaving town the first day, we happened to see this other building, and it had a sign on it that said original location of the saloon number 10. Now, General was in the truck all this time, air-conditioned truck in the parking lot and everything, but he was fine. But we didn't want to stay there any longer because we'd been there for probably like 2 hours. But when we got home that night, we kind of talked about it and decided that we really wanted to go back down there again to see what this original location of this saloon number 10 was. So we did. We made the drive again the next day and checked out the other saloon. And they actually have a room set up. It's kind of like a split level type area, but they've got this room set up downstairs that you can pay a little fee and go down and look around. And they've got it set up as they feel it would have been as the original number 10 saloon would have been set up. And a lot of information about Wild Bill Hickok and the story behind his shooting and everything like that. So that was really awesome, and we're so glad that we took the time to go back and see that. So overall, we had a really great time in Deadwood, and we highly recommend this location. We just had so much fun.